Hi, it's Lesley Perreault with eXp Realty and Wichita area real estate experts, and I wanted to discuss with you today an article that I had read out of Realtor magazine, and it was the 10 most common issues that are found during home inspections. So kicking it off with number one, they're talking about electrical wiring. A couple of the most common things that we find in the Wichita area is either not having the ground fault interrupter plugins near water sources. So new current code is within 6 feet of a water source. So kitchen sink, bathroom sinks, your washer and dryers, garages, things like that. That's what they're going to be looking for, especially if you're going FHA or VA. Those things could be called out by the inspector, but that is something that they will mention during the home inspection. Don't get me wrong, your house does not have to meet current code in order to be sold. A home inspector's job is just to come in and basically give it a functionality examination. So is it working or is it not working? Is it a health risk, a health hazard? A shocking hazard is what they're pointing out in this one. So a couple of other things that they're going to point out during electrical inspection side of things is they're going to be making sure that you have plug covers on all of your plugins or switch plate covers on your switches. A lot of times in the basements, there's going to be connections that have been made and they're just in a box that doesn't have a cover on it. So very simple, less than $1 fixes, get covers on those before your home is being inspected. Another thing that they will look at on the electrical inspection side of things is what type of breaker box your house has. So Zinco and Federal Pacific, those are the two boxes that a lot of insurance companies won't even insure anymore, and they will definitely be something that a home inspector calls out during a home inspection. The second thing that comes up is bad plumbing. So bad plumbing, typically it's something very, very simple. It's just a minor leak underneath of a sink or something like that. It's nothing usually that's that extravagant. Now, I do highly recommend that people have the sewer line scoped if they're buying a house that was built 1970s or older, because it could have that clay tile line and there's nothing that an inspector can view other than if it's just not draining properly. So that is something I would definitely recommend you add on to your home inspection if you are a buyer. The next thing comes up in almost every single house in our Wichita area is bad grading or drainage around the house. So anytime that you own a house, or if you're looking at houses, you need to be looking at this, but you need to make sure that from the point of your house, it's draining away from the foundation, because when that water is pooling around the foundation, it is adding pressure to your house that could be causing your basement walls to crack and heave inward. So you need to make sure that your gutters are draining properly away from the house, which is the next one. But you also need to be making sure that your driveway hasn't sank already and it's just pooling and holding water up against that foundation, or that you're adding dirt to get the proper slope. Sometimes it's not even adding dirt, sometimes it's removing it if there's a higher space further out into the yard that's causing it to run toward the house. So the next one I hinted at earlier, it is gutters. So making sure that your gutters are angled at the proper way so that they're getting the water, catching it and distributing it away, making sure that your downspouts are getting the water far enough away. So making sure that there's splash blocks underneath of those gutters. So the next thing basically comes to a head with all of these issues is wet basements. So negative drainage and guttering is the number one cause for wet basements in our area. And a lot of the home inspectors definitely all of the home inspectors that we recommend, but most home inspectors at this point, they do have sensors that they run along the wall, and it will detect if there's moisture in the sheetrock, even if you can't see that there's an actual moisture issue there. And those sensors are so sensitive that even just placing them on the palm of your hand, it will send out a moisture reading. So that is something that if you are hiring an inspector, make sure that they have one of those sensors and that they are planning on using that. The number 6 item is roof issues. So missing shingles, areas that need to be recaulked or retarred around different boots and things like that come out of the roof. And also the flashing that goes around your chimney. That's a common thing that just needs to be resealed a lot in order for it not to leak around your chimney. The number 7 item on here is foundation problems, and I think that we've talked about that enough with the gutters and the drainage, but that is what those lead to. So they're going to be looking for foundation problems, and if they're finding cracks or uneven floors and things like that, that is a clear indication that there has been a lot of movement in the house. And if you're already seeing that and you're still interested in the house because you just love the location or the layout or something like that, I would highly recommend getting a structural engineer to come out and take a look at that house. And the reason that I would recommend a structural engineer over someone like a foundation company is a structural engineer has an unbiased opinion. They don't care if it has structural issues or if it doesn't have structural issues. They don't get paid based on what the report says. They get paid just for making the report. So sometimes a salesperson could come out from a basement company and they could recommend things that a structural engineer wouldn't necessarily recommend. So there's no sense in wasting the money having those things done if a structural engineer doesn't think that they need done. Number 8 that pops up is neglected upkeep. And when I read those words, the first thing that pops to my mind is basically not maintaining the paint job on your house. And when you don't maintain the paint or the caulking on your house, you basically wind up with wood rot. So you'll see this around windows, around siding underneath of the windows, predominantly underneath the windows or on the chimney. It always seems like those are the places that have the issues the most. And something that we see with caulking is in like masonite style siding or lap siding, you're going to see all of the holes where they put all of the nails to hold the siding onto your house. And those need to be caulked every so often, because if those are not watertight and sealed, then all of the water is just going to seep down into the siding, and then you're going to wind up having rot and siding issues on your house. So number 9, poor ventilation. This could be from roofing. I would think typically roofing when I read this. I have sold houses before that didn't have enough vents in the attic to have the house properly breathing, and it does shorten the life of your roof. And this one specific house, it almost like baked the shingles to the point where they had lost all of the granules off of the shingles. So that is one thing that you will definitely want to have looked at. Another ventilation issue that I see is in some older houses, they don't have exhaust fans in the bathrooms where you have a high humidity content, or they're just not functioning. So that would be the next thing. And then number 10 on the list to conclude everything is heating flaws. And heating flaws, I would just say that when most inspectors come out and they are looking at heat and air, they have a device that they can see exactly what the temperature is that is coming out of the vents to know if it's working properly. Those heat and air units, those do need to be serviced on a regular basis in order to prolong their life. So if you own a home and you are in the middle of selling it, probably wouldn't hurt to go ahead and spend the $75 to $150 to have that furnace cleaned out, to have that air conditioner serviced if it's in the middle of summer, and just have it ready for an inspection. I do also want to point out something that's very interesting, and this is Kansas, so I can't speak to every state if you're watching this from someplace outside of Kansas, but Kansas does not have any type of licensing protocol for our home inspectors. So if you are buying a house, you definitely want to make sure that your home inspector has done hundreds and hundreds of home inspections and it isn't their first day on the job. Because you think about that, if somebody doesn't have to be licensed whatsoever, they could go to Vistaprint, print off some business cards, and next thing you know, they're in business doing home inspections. So it's kind of a scary thought when this is the largest investment that you'll make in your life and you don't have somebody that's qualified. So if you're working with us, we highly recommend different home inspectors that are ASHI certified. So ASHI is the American Society of Home Inspectors. They have a rigorous guideline and timeline and the amount of houses that they have to inspect in order to have that accreditation. So if you are wanting to work with us, we are happy to provide some names and references of home inspectors that we have used for our own personal houses or recommended for other clients' properties. So if you have any questions about home inspections or home issues, if you're buying or selling, don't hesitate to reach out. Our phone number is 316-655-4069. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.